Welcome to season 4, Fostering Change, the #1 podcast in adoption and foster care. Each week we speak to the most amazing good humans about topics that touch each and every one of us. If you have a guest suggestion or interested in sponsoring our podcast, please visit us at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. Now, sit back, enjoy, learn, get motivated, and let's speak to some fascinating guests. It's hard to believe we are sitting here in season 4 of Fostering Change. Wow. I remember after the first season, I was just like, okay, maybe a second season. And then I really remember about mid third season, I said to my producer, I don't know if I'm wanting to do this. We ended up getting an award, became #1 again. And so now we're in season 4. But what I'm really loving are the guests that we've had lately. And the guests that we've had lately, I always say that there's nothing better than when you interview a friend, when you're able to talk to a friend and have a really good open conversation. For those of you who follow us on social media, we have Christmas in July. You know that we are so lucky to have our friend Jen Lilly, who she has brought so much love around the country and the world, not only as an actress, but for all the work that she does to help to make sure that children who are coming into foster care and who are aging out of foster care know that they are truly loved. And this is how I met my next guest. I do this thing with Jen where I see that she does this Christmas camp, and all of a sudden I see someone on her social media page, and I'm just like, okay, I got to get to know this guy. He's funny, he's kind, he gives so much of his time. And to say, I really didn't know who he was. And then I did my research, and wow, what an unbelievable human. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet my friend, Mike Provenzano. And I've been practicing that. I love that, Provenzano. So, Mike, welcome to Fostering Change.
Thanks for having me, Rob. I really appreciate it.
So I want to jump right into it. Okay, first of all, you're a dad of 4 boys.
Yep.
I have 4 boys. I know what that's like. You are an award-winning actor.
Yes, I am. I've been blessed. I got into this business about 6 years ago, and the Lord put me into this at the time of my life for a reason. And I'm a guy that when you're in something, you're all in. And so when I got into acting, I was like, I'm all in, and I'm going to do everything I can do to be the best that I can be, right? And that's glared me a couple of awards here and there along the way, which is great.
That is amazing. And first of all, and not saying that you're old, but to be and coming into this 7 years ago is very unusual. What was that aha moment to say, you know what, I kind of like this and I want to do this, or I want to try out for this, or I want to be, for me, I'm 55 and I changed my career after 28 years of banking. And I knew that it was time to do that. But to get on a big stage was totally something I wasn't thinking of. How did that just happen?
Yeah, well, it was something I wanted to do in my 20s, and I tell this story the same way. I didn't have the confidence or the life experiences to do it, right? And so I just put it on the back burner, and I did the whole corporate thing. I was in the technology realm for, 20 plus years, and it was time for change. And I had no idea what I wanted to do, to be honest. And so I went and helped a buddy out in the construction industry. He bought a design firm. I was done helping him. And one of the guys that came with the design firm is an acting instructor. And he goes, hey, you should go check the school out. And, I said, are you blowing smoke up my, what? And I was being dead serious. And he goes, no, for real. So I went to an open call with about 50 people, and I was the oldest person in the room. And the director looked around at the end of the night and said, we're going to invite 4 of you to our school. And I happened to be one of them. And that kind of started it.
Wow. That is so crazy. That
Yeah.
is like, what I love about that is that, here you thought about this in your 20s and you just kept that little dream in the back of your mind. And one day, Mike, I want to talk a little bit about why you didn't feel you had that confidence in your 20s and the path that you started on. And, most people do not know. And by the way, I did not know until I met you is that, you have a connection with foster care because you actually were in it.
Yeah. I was in foster care from about the age 9 until 14. Now, I was I was blessed for how it was handled with me. We had a group home with 40 kids, and that was the environment that two of my brothers and I were put into. And however, to answer your question, in my 20s, I was really good at my job. I didn't have the opportunity to go to college, and I started working. My dad's like, "You're not going, get your butt out there and get a full-time job." I'm like, "Okay." So I did. And I ended up working for a computer company as a truck driver. And I did that for 6 months. And they're like, "Hey, do you want to try purchasing?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And so I went after that, and I was really like, I could negotiate with presidents of companies, and I was like early 20s, right? I mean, I had a lot of clout because we spent a lot of money back then in the industry, but I didn't, I had no fear with regards to who I dealt with in any scenario. But put a camera on me, and I was like my 17-year-old is right now. And I was like, can't do it. Even talking about my job, is what told me that I wasn't ready, is because I remember being interviewed on camera for my job specifically. And when you know your job, you should be able to talk about that pretty easily, right? I couldn't do it to the camera. That's all. I could talk about it to everybody else, but not on camera.
Wow. So, the fact is that I can understand that completely. There's been so many laws that have been changed throughout our country when it comes to group homes. And, you were in that group home for that period of time. And we're
Mhm.
seeing more and more group homes being shut down because of the laws that are passed across our lands. How do you feel about that?
Well, I watched the home that I was with, Bethana Home was the name of it, and I watched them close down their campus, right? And it was because once the laws changed, they found a way to keep it going, and they brought in children that had been abused, had records and all that kind of stuff to help rehabilitate them. And that was working for a while until the kids started to abuse the people that were there to try to help them. And when that happened, they had to make a harder decision to stop doing that because other people were getting hurt. So it's hard to watch that, but knowing that the goal is trying to keep families together is, yeah, I love that goal. Unfortunately, we all know that it can't happen in every scenario because it's not safe for the family or for the child. So, unfortunately, everything in the world changes because of finances, right? And that's kind of
Right.
what dictates things. But to watch, like, for me with Beth Anna, to watch them continue to flourish, even though that happened, is great because they said, okay, we can't do it this way anymore. We're going to adopt to a different format. And they did. And they're still around, and they're still successful, and they're still helping people. And that's like, is what it's all about.
Yeah, I get a lot of hate sent my way because I truly believe that we made a big mistake by closing group homes. And I have visited group homes in almost every state throughout our country. And I'm not saying that they're all the best, but,
Mhm.
we have children who are actually sleeping in offices right now, that are sleeping on the floors of child welfare offices,
Yeah.
conference room tables, because we're trying to make this point. And just like you said, I truly do believe that we should do everything in our power to keep that family intact. But you and I both know that that is not always the case. And reunification is not always what can happen. When growing up in the system, and then all of a sudden you go back, and I'm assuming you went back to your biological family
Yeah.
or at least one of them when you were in your teen years. Has there ever been any type of animosity, that fact that you had to go in those years times into
Uh,
that group home?
and I'm going to say no immediately, okay? Because our scenario was our family split up. So my mom left when I was 5 years old. And my dad had to raise 5 kids by himself. And so, I was 5. I had a twin brother who was 5, and I had a younger brother who was 3. Then my older brother was probably 9 or 10, or maybe even, yeah, probably 9 or 10 at the time. My sister was in her early teens. And, I don't have any animosity because my dad did it for as long as he could. He kept us together for another 4 years, and he just couldn't continue that way anymore because, I mean, granted, 9-year-old kids are a pain in the butt, right? And they're all over the place, and he worked nights because he was a bar manager for 15 restaurants. So he had to be gone because that's the way he earned a living for us. So, and we had housekeepers and maids and live-ins and all that stuff that helped through, during those times when we were home. So I never felt any animosity towards my father. I was disappointed towards my mother and for all of that, but never towards my father whatsoever.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, listen, you also are an actual author as well. And I actually got a copy of your book. Love, love, love. Roxy the Reindeer's Magical Christmas Journey. People who know me know that Christmas is one of my favorite times of the year. I think we probably have 4 trees up this year. And so I mean, my kids as they were growing up, and now I have teenagers and one child who's actually, an adult, I don't think they ever grew up, by the way, but they always have said growing up that our home is like a winter wonderland. So listen, everyone, when we come back, we're going to talk about Roxy the Reindeer's Magical Christmas Journey, how you can get a copy, how your copy can truly help give a child in foster care a copy as well. We'll be right back. This episode of Fostering Change is sponsored by Comfort Cases, a national nonprofit that inspires our communities to bring hope and dignity to our youth that are in foster care. For just $10 a month, you can support the Comfort Cases mission and help us eliminate trash bags for kids who are entering foster care. For every $10 that you give, Comfort Cases will give a Comfort XL to a child entering the system. Be part of the change. Visit comfortcases.org. Well, I say this every single week. It is so great to have a good conversation, to learn about people's stories, because you never know how their story could actually impact you today. And then so much education that we are taught each and every day. I love everyone's opinion, and I love the fact that not everybody agrees with my opinion all the time. And you all show that. But what I know with my friend Mike is the fact that, he is a guy who gives back. And Mike, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen you come to our national center and pack cases. I've seen you load your car up and take cases to, the agency that you're connected with. I have seen you give, books to our organization without asking for anything. And so this is what I want people to do. So Roxy the Reindeer's Magical Christmas Journey. Mike, first I want to know what made you decide to write this children's book.
When my youngest son, Ethan, was smaller, I had a point in the two. It was like, I'm going to tell you a bedtime story every night. The best thing an actor can do is have improv by making stuff up every night. And so one night I said, you know what? We do this all the time. Let's record one. So I turned my phone on, I hit record, and I just do the story. So when I was done, he goes, well, why'd you do that? I go, what do you think about making it into a book? And he's like, ooh, that's a great idea. And the fun part was that even though we continued to have bedtime stories, he became engaged with the story. So when he was 3 or 4 years old, the stuff that was coming out of his mouth made no sense to the story, but it was fun, right? But with this, it was, hey, let's see how it goes. And because I love Christmas so much, almost, probably a little more than you, Rob, I will say. We were on the news years ago for our Christmas display. I'll just say that.
Wow.
And I'm back in the early 90s when that happened. So, but yeah, putting it together it was a lot of fun. And I had someone look at it and go, here, fix all this stuff because I don't know what I'm doing, my first one. And I really spent a long time trying to find an illustrator. and hunted and hunted. And I'm like, man, this is expensive. And nothing was resonated with me with all the different pictures that I was receiving until I was talking to my buddy and his daughter, Colleen, who was about 16 at the time, was into doing this type of stuff. And I said, let's do it. And she created all of the characters.
That is amazing. I love that. And I will tell you, the illustration, good job for her. I mean, 16
Yeah.
years old and she did this. It's great. And I do know finding an illustrator is probably one of the hardest things. You know, I've written 2 children's books so far, one that just got published, and that was the hardest thing. And they are very expensive. You know, listen, everybody, the book is Roxy the Reindeer's Magical Christmas Journey. You can go to Mike's website, which is Mike at miprov.com, and be able to order this book. If they order this book, Mike, will they be able to have about what is delivery time so they can make sure that it's under the tree for Christmas? Or maybe what I would, you know, we do this at our family, and my kids are even so old now, they're like, Dad, I can't believe we still do this. We always read a book on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would be kind of cool, everybody, if you were to get this book so you could read it to your little ones and even your older ones on Christmas Eve. What's the turn time, Mike, if they
it's pretty quickly, because you can get it either when you go to my website, there's a lot of choices on how you can buy it. You can buy it on Amazon or Barnes Noble and all those sites, but I also have an Etsy page, and the Etsy page allows it to ship from me, which also allows to have a little autograph signature,
Nice.
little note inside the cover.
I love that. I love that. I love the fact that you can get it signed. I know of other children's authors who I've spoken to, teachers who have gotten the book and given it to their, and they're just like, oh my gosh, the person actually signed it.
Yep.
Absolutely love that. Listen, Mike, you are, as I say, you are a good human. And I am so, so, so lucky for my friend Jen and your friend Jen that she introduced us, that we have been able to become friends, and we have a long path of friendship going on, my friend, because we have a lot of kids who need you and I. So everybody, listen, you can pick up the book, Roxy the Reindeer's Magical Christmas Journey. You will actually see my friend Mike again, because Mike's going to do a little bit of co-hosting with me, and it's going to be a fun conversation. Mm-hmm. So until the next time, keep doing what you do. Smile to that person, thank that person, but always remember to be a good human. Take care. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening or watching the latest episode of Fostering Change. All of us on our team hope that you've learned something new today and have been inspired to be a good human. Now, just a reminder that you can always find Fostering Change on your favorite channels on Google, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and others, including, of course, comfortcases.org. I want to give a big thank you to all of you for joining us each and every week. And a reminder that if you have a suggestion for a guest, or maybe you might have a question about today's podcast, or are interested in becoming a sponsor of Fostering Change, please don't hesitate to email me personally at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. Now, that's it for now. Thanks again, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Take care.